My previous video on my platinum printing actually has got a lot of interest, and I thought I would expand this a little bit in this new video and take you through the process and actually show you videos some of which are on my channel already, but I will do a commentary over those videos just to show you exactly how I make the prints and explain the process, so that some of you will have a better idea of the actual practicalities that you have to do in the darkroom to make platinum prints. And as always, if you have any queries, please just put them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer any questions you have, and hopefully it'll help some of you explore this really fantastic and fascinating process. So thanks for watching. Do watch towards the end because I do show the whole process. And once again, if you like the content, please hit the subscribe button, as that will tell me your interest, show me your interest, and will help me make future videos which hopefully will help a lot of people. So thanks for watching and enjoy the ride. The first platinum prints I made were in 1996, and this was part of the Kader Idris series, where I made a series of 10 limited edition platinum prints and put them into a portfolio along with haiku verses for each of the photographs. You have to start with a negative, of course, a photograph. My preferred method these days is to use 8 by 10 inch negatives for all my new platinum prints. And these are 8 by 10 negatives because, of course, the prints are contact prints, so they will be the same size as the negative that you print from. Here are the chemicals I use for coating. There's platinum, palladium, and ferric oxalate, and you mix them in various proportions, which I'll explain to you now. This is the setup for actually coating the paper. It's taped flat to a sheet of glass, and all my chemicals are there ready for mixing the chemicals and then coating. You only want to coat just around the negative area. You don't want to coat the whole sheet of paper that you might be using, because that's just wasting chemicals. Everything is ready here, so I'm going to mix the chemicals. I decide on the various proportions beforehand. This is the platinum solution going in, and you mix everything into either glass or plastic containers, because you don't want stainless steel contaminating the metals that you are using, which are platinum and palladium, and obviously the iron solution. More platinum will give you a slightly neutral image color. More palladium will give you a slightly warmer image color. So you can vary the proportions according to what you want and the properties of the print. You can do this, as you can see, in dim ambient lighting, not daylight and not fluorescent tubes, because the platinum coating is only sensitive to ultraviolet light. So you can carry out most of the procedures in dim incandescent lighting, which makes things a little bit easier. It's only when the ferric oxalate goes in that that solution becomes light sensitive, and again you use an equal proportion of the ferric oxalate to the platinum and palladium that you've used, and then that solution is ready for coating. So I'm just adding the last drops of the ferric oxalate, give it a stir, and that's the solution all mixed. The paper I choose to use is Arches Platine. It's a heavyweight, about 310 GSM. It has one very smooth surface, which I prefer, You've got to make sure it's obviously dust free, so you brush off any dust, and then you have to apply the coating fairly quickly, but you've got to make sure that it's evenly coated all over. Of course, any smudges, blotches or gaps will of course show because the actual image is going to appear on this coating. So you try and do it as quickly as possible whilst making it very even, very smooth. And as you can see, I'm just coating just to the outside of a faint line that I've made on the paper to indicate the area of the negative. I don't want to be coating the whole sheet of paper because that's just waste of quite expensive solutions, but you do want to make sure that you're covered right up to the edge and maybe slightly over, just to be on the safe side. And that's what gives you those kind of brush stroke borders on the edges of the print, which I like to keep in when I'm matting and mounting the finished print. But you can of course choose to block them off, or you can use tape on the negative to give you a clean straight edge, but I just prefer to keep the hand coated hand brush strokes visible, and that gives each print a certain individuality. When the coating is dry, you put it into contact with the negative and then into a contact printer, so it's in close contact with the paper. Then the whole thing goes into ultraviolet light. So this is a bank of ultraviolet tubes, and the exposures are quite long, much longer than silver printing. So it can be anything from 5, 10, 20, maybe 30 minutes, depending on the negative. What you'll find is that when you take the negative and the paper out of the contact printer, back in the darkroom, out of daylight or ultraviolet light, that you'll find that the image is already partially formed just from the action of the ultraviolet light. Before you do any developing, the dark areas of the negative, the shadow areas on the image, as you will see, are already partly formed. And this means that when it goes into the solution, the developing is almost instantaneous. We put the print into a dry dish and pour the solution directly onto the print, and as you will see, the image comes up almost instantaneously. It's an instantaneous chemical reaction. To all intents and purposes, that print is now fully developed. We use the word developing in the same way as we do for silver printing, but as you can see, the process is actually quite different. Just out of habit, I tend to leave it in for a lot longer than it necessarily needs to be. The image, to all intents and purposes, is now fully formed. The subsequent chemistry is much more straightforward. The second bath will just be a plain water rinse to rinse off the bulk of the developing chemical, so we don't get carryover into the subsequent chemistry. Just keeps everything clean, keeps everything from cross-contamination. So it's much the same as conventional silver printing in terms of the discipline that you need to use. Not forgetting, of course, that these prints are absolutely permanent. Platinum and palladium are noble metals, and so the image is absolutely permanent. You don't need any hypo clearing, you don't need any toning afterwards to make that image last, and it's probably the longest lasting image that you can possibly get in any process on paper. So this is just a plain cold water rinse. just to get rid of the bulk of the chemistry I've used for the developing. And the subsequent baths are the clearing baths, and their purpose is to chelate the ferric oxalate, the iron content that's in the paper. It chelates that and it makes it water soluble. So after the series of these clearing baths, the print can then just be washed 30-45 minutes in running water, and that print is absolutely permanent. It will last quite literally forever, which is why you also have to then use, of course, 100% cotton rag paper, because using cheap paper which will deteriorate or affect the image is a complete waste of time. So using 100% cotton rag paper. There are only a few papers that are suitable for this. I prefer Arches Platine because it's got a very smooth surface. Some photographers prefer a textured surface, which I think interferes with the image. So into the first of 3 clearing baths. Then after that, it's a final wash, dry, and that's your print. This is the finished print, dried, and here are just some selection of prints that I've made over the years, just to give you a flavour of the range and the beautiful quality that you can get with platinum printing. Well, if you've watched this all the way through, many thanks, and I hope it's been a help. I hope it's broadened your understanding and maybe helped you understand the process a little bit better, and introduced you to some of the complexities and some of the strategies for making platinum prints. And if you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll be happy to answer. Thanks again for watching, and if you can, please hit the subscribe button and I'll try and make some more content to help you all. Many thanks.